guys, so for today's video I am going to be doing some black opal nails. So to start off, I'm taking Reality Check from Madam Glam, which is a jelly black color, and I'm doing one coat of this on all of the nails, and then I do go ahead and cure this for 60 seconds. And I know I have done opal nails, I think twice before. I did like regular opal nails, and then I did like opal ghost nails for Halloween. But I've really been liking doing these, and I also feel like I haven't quite mastered the opal look. Um, I've just been like testing stuff out and trying it out. I've also been really wanting to do like a black opal set because I personally like black opal more than like the regular opal. I don't know. I just feel like the colors pop a lot better on black than they do on the white. Um, but like I said, I've just been testing stuff out to try and like get that actual kind of opal look to the nails. And while I have loved the previous sets that I have done, I just don't feel like they really look like opals. Um Also, I haven't actually like watched a tutorial or anything on how to create opal nails or like how other people are creating opal nails. I've just kind of been doing whatever I feel like is right, and just kind of like trial and error on how I feel like it needs to be done or whatever. Um, so anyhow, doing, multiple opal sets, and I will probably end up doing more here in the future until I get them to look how I want them to look. Also, I just feel like this is a really pretty um, design, and it's pretty easy too. Actually, it's really easy. There's really not a whole lot to do with it. It's just a matter of layering a whole bunch of stuff. Um, so anyhow, like my ghost set, I'm using these same flakes. If you watched my very first opal video, then you know I used a different type of flakes, and I just was not feeling those. They were sticking up too much, they were too stiff, and it made it kind of difficult to get them to lay on the nail, and then they were sticking out all over the place and like making the nails all lumpy and everything. And then I had someone comment on TikTok about these flakes that they use whenever they do opal nails. So then I bought those, and then I did the ghost set. So now I'm using these flakes again because they work really well and I really like them. They sit flat on the nail. They're like those, I think, like Mylar flakes or whatever, where they like sit flat against the nail. They're super lightweight, as you can see when I pick them up. They kind of like fly all over the place, similarly to like gold leaf or like the silver leaf foil stuff. But yeah, I just take one of these sponges like you use for chrome and just dip it into the little flakes there, and then tap them right into the sticky layer of that black jelly color, and they stick really well. They do have a little bit of fallout, but if you really press it down and like kind of even wipe the sponge over them, that fallout will come off, and then they'll stick really well onto the nails. So when you do go to do another layer on top of it, either with like, whatever color you're using, or even just to top coat, it doesn't come off and fall off into your polish that you're using to go over top of it, if you are going over top of it. So yeah, I really like these flakes. There's all different kinds of them on Amazon. I don't remember what the 3 that I got were. I think it was like I think it was like Starry Night, Monet Garden, and Mermaid or something like that. I don't know. But if you look up on Amazon, that brand, I think it's like Laza or Laza, however you pronounce that. They do have a bunch of different like color variations with them. These were just the 3 that I had really liked. The person who commented on TikTok mentioned that they use the Starry Night one and the Monet Garden. I think that's what they're called. They mentioned that they used those 2, and then I saw the mermaid ones and then all the other ones, and I decided to get the 2 that they mentioned on TikTok, and then I also wanted to get the mermaid one because I thought that one was really pretty as well. But like I said, they have a whole bunch of different color variations and they all look really nice, and I do want to get like the rest of them because like I said, I love these flakes. But anyhow, after I got those all pressed down, I decided to take the black from Ballpit, which is just a regular cream opaque black, and I wanted to try and get the veining that is in like an opal, because I haven't done that on the other ones, and I feel like maybe that's what was missing from them. And I don't really know if this worked out as well as I was hoping. um I don't know if it's just because I did the black, or if I just didn't do like the veining quite right. It looks a little weird to me. Also, I think usually whenever people do like these gemstone type of nails and they do the veining, they either use like the marble inks, or they'll use, I've seen people use Sharpies before too, or like markers, and do like that. You know how you used to do before we had all the marble inks and um, all of the fancy nail supplies now. You used to take like a Sharpie or something and then you draw on the nail, and then you um, like dilute it with acetone or whatever. I think that's usually how people do the veinings and stuff, and they'll like blur it out. You could even do this with just the gel polish. You put it on and then you can like tap it with alcohol or acetone or whatever, and it will like cause it to spread out and like blur those lines and whatever. I probably should have done that. I think that would have helped it a little bit, but also I was like, you can't really see the black very well on the black jelly polish. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to mess around with these opal nails again and try and figure it out. Um, I just went in and did like little squiggly lines across the nail. I also might have done too many lines, or like didn't do them in like a pattern that gives like the veining on an actual opal stone or whatever. I don't know. I don't think the veining worked out in this case because I didn't really like how it looked. I was like, it's not really giving opal or like black opal. So, like I said, I need to keep messing around. I should probably watch a video or something of someone else doing opal nails and see like how they go about it, and see if like that works out better for me, or I tend to just kind of test things out on my own to see like what works for me, without usually watching videos or other tutorials. Like I'll see people post like their pictures or their videos or whatever of their opal nails, and I will like how it looks, and then I'm like, I want to try doing that. So then I sit over here and test out 100 different ways of trying to do it and trying to figure out the correct way to do it, when I could just easily go on and search up like opal nail tutorial somewhere, and I will come across, you know, hundreds of videos that have tutorials on how to do opal nails. But I like to do it the complicated way and try things out myself instead of, you know, watching another video that could make things a lot easier on me. But anyhow, after I got the veining done, I went ahead and cured that for 60 seconds. And then I went over all of that with another layer of that jelly black color. And then I just repeated the process. I cured that for 60 seconds, tapped on some of those little flakes, and then went over, did the like veining on it, cured that for 60 seconds. And then I did do one final layer of the jelly black. And then cure that for 60 seconds. I will say, after I added this second layer of the jelly black, I did like how it looked a lot better with the veining than I was when there wasn't that layer of jelly black. And I feel like maybe I should have just left it like that, but I did do a second layer of the veining, and I don't know, maybe if I would have just done the one layer of the veining, it would have been a little bit better. But I was also like, I want this to look like, have a lot of depth and dimension to it, and like look like a lot of layers. Like if you were to actually have an opal and you're like sitting there holding it in your hand, you can see like there's a lot of stuff going on inside of it. That's kind of what I was trying to go for with this nail, with all the layers and everything. But I don't know. Like I said, the veining part of it just kind of didn't sit right with me. Like something was off about that. I mean, it's not super bad, but it also wasn't the greatest. Also, something else that I did with this set was I did like less of the flakes on each layer, because I noticed with my other two sets that I did, I kind of went heavy on the flakes on every layer that I did the flakes on. I kind of covered pretty much the entire nail with the flakes on each layer. So the first layer had like flakes on the entire nail, and then the second layer also had flakes on pretty much the entire nail, and it still looked good, and you could kind of tell there was a bit of layering there, but I felt like I needed to be a little more strategic with the flakes and like not cover so much of the surface on each layer. And then so like on that first layer there, I kind of spaced them out a little bit, and then for this second layer here, I was trying to keep the flakes in the areas that didn't have flakes on the first layer, if that makes sense. That way you could see that there was different layers to it, and giving that more like dimensional feel to it, and like making it look like the nail is a lot deeper than it actually is. And I tried to do that, the same thing like with the veins. I tried to, with this second layer here of veins, I tried to keep them off of the first set of veins, or like not trace over the first set of veins, and kind of like if they crossed over each other, I was like, that's fine, but I didn't want it to be like overlapping or anything, which was a little difficult because I could barely see that first layer of veining because of the black jelly polish. The black on black was just kind of blending a lot, and then I had all these flakes, and some of the flakes were like overlapping, and it was kind of getting a little hectic, and it was a little hard to see what I was doing and how I was doing things, but I just kind of went with it. And then, yeah, like I said earlier, after I did this set of veining, I did cure for 60 seconds and then did one more layer of the jelly black on top of that and then cured that for 60 seconds as well. I actually forgot that I did one last layer of veining on the very top. I also low-key kind of feel like that might have messed up the look a little bit, because I feel like, now I'm not gonna lie, I haven't looked at like a picture of an actual opal stone in a while. So I'm just kind of when I do these nails, I'm just kind of going based off of memory, which I shouldn't do. I should have like a reference picture there and like try and mimic the reference picture as best as possible. But like I said earlier, I like to make things 10 times more complicated for myself. And if you've watched any of my other videos, then you probably already know this. I've mentioned it before in other videos, how I like to take the complicated route instead of taking the easy route. I don't know why I always end up doing that, but I do. I guess that works out good for you guys, because then you can see how difficult things were for me, and I can tell you, like, don't do it like this, do it a different way, because this was so complicated. Like, you can learn from me that there's easier ways to do things. But anyhow, yeah, I did the veining on this top layer, and I don't know, I really do think I probably should have not done this, because if you look at these types of stones, the veining is all on the inside, and I don't feel like there's, I mean, maybe there is surface veining. I don't know. I really need to look at a picture of an opal and see, because I think that's my main problem here, is that, like, I'm just going based off of memory, and I'm clearly not remembering very well on how these look. But yeah, so after I got these on, I did go ahead and cure for 60 seconds, and then I went in with my shiny top coat from LGN and applied that to all of the nails, and then I cured that for 60 seconds, and I was really liking how they looked once they were top coated. Top coat always makes everything better. I don't know how, but it does. Like, even when you're finished with your design or whatever you're doing, any kind of nail art you're doing, you're kind of sitting there looking at it like, this looks so wrong. And then you go to top coat and you're like, okay, it's actually not that bad. Like, the top coat always makes everything better, at least in my opinion. I feel like top coat just helps everything come together. It smooths everything out, makes everything look nicer. So they were looking a lot better once I got that top coat on, but I still wasn't 100% sure with how these were looking, and I wasn't 100% sure if I really liked how they ended up looking. But overall, they really didn't look that bad. Even if they didn't look exactly like black opal nails, they still looked really cool, and I really liked the color shift of these little flakes and how they were showing up on the nail against the black, and you can see like the different layering and the depth and dimension on them. I do think they look really cool. Even with the veining that I did, I feel like it looks pretty alright. It low-key kind of looks like a really messy kind of like stained glass type of nail, which is also really cool. But I definitely feel like it's not giving black opal like I wanted it to. It's just kind of giving like this really cool kind of abstract color shifting sort of look, and that's fine too. It is a little disappointing because it's not what I was going for. I was going for, you know, an opal look, but it is still really cool on its own, and like how it ended up looking, even if I feel like it doesn't really give like an opal-y kind of look. And how many times can I say opal in this video? It is not even sounding like a real word anymore. I don't know how you guys feel about me saying opal 1,000 times, but right now I'm like, is this even a real word? Um, and I really like how they look in the different lighting, even with the white ones. It looks different in all the different lightings, like under the filming lights, in the sunlight, in the dark with the flash. Like, it is just so cool. And I really love the pop of color, and like when you move them different ways, you see different colors, and like from one angle you'll only see the black, and then you move and then you can see like the blue or the red or the pink or whatever, which is really fun. I do really like these nails. uh I think the black has been my favorite out of all three of the sets that I have done, even if the veining is a little funky. But yeah, I definitely think the black is my favorite out of all three. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.